Hi, and welcome to Bible Drills, a chance for us to spend a few minutes of time in God's timeless Word. We are picking up the story in Mark chapter 4, and Jesus is teaching with parables, and these parables are just wonderful. And we're going to pick up the story in Mark chapter 4, starting at verse 21. And we want to read a couple verses here and then pull some very interesting concepts that I think are very helpful for us to know how to grow in our spiritual lives. In verse 21, it says, "And Jesus said to them, 'Do not bring in a lamp to put it under a bowl or a bed. Instead, don't you put it on a stand. For whatever is hidden is meant to be disclosed, and whatever is concealed is meant to be brought out in the open. If anyone has ears to hear, let him hear. Consider carefully what you hear,' he continued. 'With the measure you use, it will be measured to you, and even more. Whoever has will be given more. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them.'" Oh, so interesting. So on the heels of Jesus' parable of the seeds and the soil, Jesus was implying that there was a kind of a covering or a secretness to the mystery of God's kingdom. But I think what he was trying to do was also trying to explore with them the beauty of what God was up to. And when he mentioned at the end that the seed that was planted in good soil produced 30, 60, 100, he was really opening up their curiosity. He was opening up for them a desire for more. And then he follows up with this story. He's basically telling the disciples, who, of course, one day are going to be the ones planting seeds. They're the ones who will be sharing the light. They're the ones who, the light keepers. They would go out into the dark world and they would share the light of the gospel of the love of Jesus. And as a result of that, people would respond. And he was telling them, yes, some aren't going to listen. Some seed is going to fall along the pathway. Yes. Some is going to be snatched up by the enemy right away. Yes, that's true too. And some is just going to get choked out because people are deceived by wealth and maybe comfort. And so he was trying to say, don't be discouraged. You don't take this light and put it under a bed. No, you put it on a lampstand. You let it shine. And this is a very good illustration for all of us to learn. We need to be light stands. We need to be taking the light that God has given to us, and wherever possible, wherever we can, we need to let that light shine. That's the whole point of putting it on a stand. And it's not political. It's not some sort of power move. It is really just simply taking the light that we have and broadcasting that light, whatever that situation is and wherever that need is for the truth to come. And so Jesus was telling his disciples, don't hide it just because you think it's going to be, some people are going to get snatched up by the enemy and some are going to get choked out. Don't worry about all that. You just make sure you put your light on a lampstand. And then he says, let him who has ears to hear, let him hear. Jesus said that whenever he was trying to make a very serious point. And he was trying to make a point here for his disciples. Don't be discouraged. You continue to broadcast the seed. You be the light on the stand, not a light that is hidden. That's a good question for us, because we need to ask ourselves, what are we doing with our light? Are we hiding it somehow? Or are we willing to just broadcast it like a good light should be used so that others can see the way? He wants us to carefully consider our lives. Consider how you listen. Consider carefully what you hear. You see, I think sometimes in our culture, especially Western culture, Canadian culture, we are just like microwave people. Stick it in there, boom, a few seconds, boom, done, carry on. Make money, use time well, time is money. We're busy, busy, busy. And Jesus here is saying, no, no, no. When it comes to the spiritual life, we must consider carefully what we're hearing and let it soak, let it sink, so that we are able to use it. We are able to take what we receive and use it in our lives. in our families, in our personal lives, in our work lives, in our communities. However we can do that, that's how we need to do it. And he says, with the measure that you use, it will be measured back to you and even more. This is how you grow in your spiritual life. This is how you grow in your understanding of scriptures. You don't understand everything all at once. Not everything comes to light. Jesus is promising here that yes, there's some things in the scripture that do take time. They marinate inside your heart and your mind, but one day they will be revealed. And of course, ultimately, I suppose you could say one day when Jesus returns, everything will be revealed. And so we will know even as we are known, and we are fully known. So that's the idea that Jesus is giving here. And so when you receive from the scripture something, when you go to Bible study, when you go to church, or when your own personal study, and you kind of see something there and it doesn't quite make sense, let it sink, let it marinate. A friend of mine used to say, he used to set up a tent over those passages. He would just tent there. Wouldn't go anywhere else, just tent there, dwell there, until it began to make sense to him. And once it made sense, then he used it. And when you use what you have, this is the principle of the scriptures. More will be given to you. You'll be curious for more. You'll be hungry for more. And it will be given to you. And then he says, whoever has, more will be given. So if you have it and you use it and you are growing it, if you're marinating in the scripture, one day will come to light. But at the same time, it also tells you that more will be given. This is how you grow. You don't grow just by going to church. You don't grow just by going to youth group. You don't grow by going and joining a Bible study. You don't grow that way. You go by applying what you learn. James even says, if you don't apply, if you don't obey what you've learned, you'll actually deceive yourself. That's what can happen to you. And so you don't want that to happen. So you want to make sure that you're growing. Whoever has will be given more. Whoever doesn't have, even what they do have will be taken away. And so there's this kind of principle going on inside your Christian life. If you are not taking what you learn and putting it on a lampstand and letting others see it and applying it to your lives, carefully considering what you have, and don't worry, you're not going to understand everything, but it will come to light one day. Don't you worry about that stuff. Don't worry about broadcasting light. Not everybody's going to get it. Don't worry, you just do it. You do what I ask you to do, and you let it shine. You measure it out, and then it says he'll measure it back to you and even more. That's how you grow. And I assume that if you're listening to this today, you want to grow. This is how you grow. You grow by putting it into practice, and God will give you more. It's a beautiful principle, and it's a lot of fun. It's not always easy. It can be hard work. But the fruit, 30, 60, 100. Wow.